Hey everybody, it's Jonathan with the Token Forum. I'm really excited to introduce you to Justin Wu. A lot of you already know him. Justin was one of our speakers at Token Forum. He's a very active growth marketer in the blockchain space in Seattle, but also globally. And he even has his own conference here in Seattle called the Blockchain Northwest. So with that, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everybody.
Hey everyone, how's it going? So my name is Justin Wu. I've been a growth marketer in the blockchain space for a couple of years now. Kind of got into the space kind of like the early Dogecoin days around 2011, 2012.
Yeah.
But really wanted to jump right into the business side of blockchain to help accelerate companies build brands. And so just been kind of going all in probably for the past year.
Awesome. So, some people might not be familiar with what a growth marketer is or what a growth marketer does. So can you tell us what is a growth marketer, and then what does a growth marketer do in this blockchain space?
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, growth marketing was like a buzzword that came out of Silicon Valley. I think that growth hacking really coined the term. And what growth hacking really was is the only difference between growth hacking and traditional marketing is being able to go down further down the funnel. I think a lot of marketing was just all about brand awareness and maybe acquisition. But we're looking at things all the way down to like actual acquisition, retention, and referrals. So going much more deeper, involved through the pretty much like the whole awareness to like sales and then repeat process, right? Creating that full growth engine. And one other big difference with growth marketing now is just like we're having a lot of technology out there and data, so it's becoming a more data-driven and scalable marketer.
Yeah.
So they can utilize technology, software, etc. to grow.
So so Justin, you have your own event also that you plan. I've seen that you've done events across the world, of course, but
Yep.
You have your own event, Blockchain Northwest. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we hosted the first Blockchain Northwest in the waterfront in June, and we brought in a lot of companies from both Seattle, but also I think one important thing that we'd like to highlight is when I go outside of Seattle, traveling to like LA, New York, people don't even think or take Seattle seriously as a blockchain ecosystem, despite Seattle being have Bittrex, Storm, Dragon Chain, Archain, and a lot of other cool projects here, like probably like 40 plus and growing. And then you also have good bridges between like Vancouver. There's a lot of stuff happening up in Vancouver as well as Portland, and so when we launched Blockchain Northwest, we wanted just to help kind of bring the community together, but also bring in other perspectives to the local community to help level up the education and get more perspectives across industries and protocols, but also to let more people actually notice Seattle as a blockchain hub, just because we have a rich history in tech and development. And I think especially in the bear phase of the whole market, it's all about building, and the only best way for us to build stuff in the blockchain space is with the actual developers, without all the flashy talks. Because I've been there, I've seen like stuff. I've been in LA for the past 5 years, and I've seen the blockchain scene there, and the dev community is just not as heavy. But you look at other regions like Colorado, New York, even up here in Seattle, dev heavy regions, I think will build the next evolution or next phase.
Makes a lot of sense
for blockchain, in my opinion. And so I'm in it for the long term, and I just wanted to help kind of the community here locally, and also let more attention come here in the Seattle and Pacific Northwest region.
Totally. I love what you have to say about the development community and how you're in this for the long haul. Just the other day, someone was asking me, "Hey, what do you think about the market being bear and Bitcoin or Ether going down or this or that?" And like, hey, yes, that matters, but to me what matters is overall the technology, right?
Yep.
Like how this technology becomes more commonplace, and how people start to use it in their everyday lives without even knowing that they're using blockchain, right? And so
yeah, I agree.
For me, like, to echo what you're talking about, the development community and so forth, that's what becomes very interesting. And I think naturally, as more people are doing these types of things, that'll lead to the overall adoption in the space.
Yeah, and people forgot that when Ethereum was invented, like the market cap was nowhere close to where we are today. And
right.
So it's proven that innovation, especially from the developers, like can come during that was, if you look compared to that market, like it's very small.
Yeah.
So now we're like at 200 billion plus or minus from how the market swings. A lot of those core developers now are both well off, but like they're just like heads down focusing on building. And I think that we'll continue to see that whether the market, even if Bitcoin goes back down to like a couple $100s, I think that people will still, there's so much incentive to innovate and maybe become the next Ethereum to cause the next explosion too. So I'm bullish.
Yeah, and I think that'll naturally weed out the bad projects, right? You know, you hear it, I hear it, like, oh, there's so much fraud and rampant in ICOs and so forth, and like, I'll probably speak for you and myself when I say it's like, we're glad those things get caught, right? Like we don't want the fraud. We don't want any of that garbage in here. We want the good, high quality projects that are, doing good things in technology, that creating this adoption. Like that's what we want to see. So
yeah, I agree.
The more that gets called out, the better. And if we can weed out those things, better altogether. I think it's super interesting that you're doing your conference. I have my conference going on. I want you to be successful with Blockchain Northwest. And
yeah, likewise too. The Token Forum.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that like there's so much education needed in this space that there is enough room for these different conferences, right? There's enough room for these different forms of education, and I think conferences like ours are the ones that are going to rise to the top and stay around long term because we're really focused on providing high quality value and so forth, right? So
yeah, and I think that if from going to a lot of events out there, I think like the biggest issue right now in the blockchain space is not necessarily that there's a lot of events. I think that shows a lot of the energy and excitement in the space. I think that the only issue is that there's a lot of events out there that are coming from people that are not actually in the blockchain space, and I've been to a lot of those conferences and events. And so there's people coming at the space wrong and not actually trying to provide value and build community and education, and they just want like full like shill events out there. And so with Token Forum and also Blockchain Northwest, like it was keep it chill in the shill. And just like talk about real topics
I like that.
that really matter, and then how we can get players to work together too. So I think that's like a huge highlight point. And just like the blockchain space, I think that's all evolving too. I think the excitement, everybody's just looking for new projects and new things to invest. And then as the bear market comes, people are now looking to, okay, what can we, the events haven't stopped yet, and the activity, because that's actually like a true testament how people are very fascinated and want to work with blockchain technology, and how much more we have to go still. What else I'll say is that also too, like there's a lot of emerging blockchain communities too. So it's always great to kind of help shape that, but also help educate and level it all up, and then everybody wins, both locally and also in the blockchain space as well too. So I'm always happy to collaborate with other community leaders and other community events, both here in Seattle and worldwide too. And I think that will just help everyone overall understand that there's a lot of projects in each of these regions. And I think that we're starting to see that now. Within even the next year, we'll start seeing more events outside of the the core tech cities like LA, New York, and San Francisco typically, because what's interesting now is like blockchain does allow us to kind of get funding elsewhere, and then still not rely on Silicon Valley solely, and that also presents a great opportunity here in Seattle specifically, just because there's so much dev talent here. Locally, the funding scene has always been more risk averse, but again with blockchain STOs, ICOs, that allows us to kind of skip that process and not be in Silicon Valley and New York and all that spaces, and still actually build really meaningful stuff here in Seattle too. So excited for that.
So with that, Justin, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us. Really appreciate you. Blockchain Northwest is going to be in mid-October. Definitely check that out. It's just BlockchainNW.com.
Yeah, BlockchainNW.com. And then, also see you at the next Token Forum.
Yep. Next Token Forum is going to be November 9th, thetokenforum.com. We'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.